Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm out here at Rock Valley College, and wanted to talk a little bit about The Last of the Mohicans by James Fenimore Cooper. I'm actually out here at Rock Valley College because I'm taking a Spanish class this summer. Wanted to brush up on my foreign languages a little bit, learn something new. But anyway, this book by James Fenimore Cooper is a book that I've never read anything quite like. And it's not because of the story. It's a typical hero story set in the earliest foundings of America, but just the way Fenimore Cooper writes, I'd have to say it's sort of like the way that Hawthorne wrote. He's using a lot of English language that's no longer in common usage, but it probably was common back when he wrote it so many years ago. I think it was back in the 1860s he wrote this book. And it's part of a number of other books that he wrote. But anyway, so we have this story about this Englishman, and he's going to be escorting two young ladies to a local fort where their father is actually the commander of. And it's during this war between the French and English that this is all happening. And the book is set in Upper New York. There's no roads, there's no cars, there's nothing modern. It truly is set in early America where you have horses and so forth. Okay, there's no modern luxuries, and this book really brings that out, because as this Englishman is escorting Alice and Cora to the fort, they run into three guys: Uncas, Chingachgook, and what's the other guy? Hawkeye. Well, on the way to the fort, it turns out they're going to be double-crossed by an Indian who is traveling with the party, the two girls and the Englishman to the fort. And this guy was going to try and capture Alice and Cora and basically, I guess, take them back to his homeland and make them slaves. Perhaps even sacrifice them in the Indian fires. I don't know what his plans exactly were, but they were not honorable and they were not good. So he's the bad guy. All right. Well, Hawkeye intervenes and saves the two girls from an early demise. Okay. And it really talks, this book goes through their journey through the woods of New York and the exploration of New York. Okay. The one thing Cooper does really well is he describes the land of New York, and I've even heard it said that the nature, this New York itself, is an actual character in the book just because of how direct a part, it plays. The waterfalls, the valleys, the hills, these types of things, how they play into the story, that it's actually, it almost feels like a character in the book. And I guess I kind of see that's true because while they're in the forest at night, the forest is making all these sorts of noises and it's setting, these characters on edge. They can't explain some of these noises. That was one thing that I found surprising about this book. Maybe not surprising, that's a little bit too strong a word. Maybe I didn't expect that Cooper was trying to have a level of eeriness, if you will, regarding this storyline. While these travelers are going through the woods, trying to get to the fort and avoiding the other Indians that are trying to capture them, the woods, they're eerie. It's kind of scary at times, and it really is an obstacle. It's a survival of the tough. You have to kind of know what you're doing if you're going to hike through the woods where there's very little trails. There's no hotels or inns, there's no gas stations to stop and pick up supplies at, water or snacks or anything like that at all. It's just you against nature. And that's part of the exploration, I think, of what Cooper is going into. Cooper also makes a point to talk about moral courage and how great men, or women for that matter, but in this book the heroes are men, that great men have to have courage when they undertake, I guess, a journey, to protect other people. It's easy to kind of be selfish and look after yourself in the wild because it's just you and perhaps a couple of friends. But when you're trying to help other people, you have to put yourself out there. These two women and the Englishmen, they're not experienced in the woods, so they almost put themselves at risk because they're doing things that, the Indians aren't, because the Indians know how to cover their own trails. They know where to step when crossing a stream so they don't leave a footprint so that other people, might be able to track them. Got the sun coming over this building. Starting to get in my eyes a little bit. At the very end of the book, there's a funeral service. I'm not going to tell you who dies. And Hawkeye is talking to one of the other characters, and this other character is feeling alone. Like he's the last Mohican. Thus the title of the book, Last of the Mohicans. And Hawkeye is telling him, no, you're not alone. Even though you and I are not of the same blood, and he said that because Hawkeye's a white man, and the other character, the other Indian, obviously is not. And he says, no, you're not alone, even though, we're going, we're both, we're both mourning the death of this other person, you have to understand that, we're together. We're almost like family. We've been through a lot together. So, you don't have to feel alone. You may be the last of your bloodline, but you and I are still of the human race. And that means something. And I think that speaks to us today, considering all the race issues that we have in America and of course in between the factions, different countries, that are warring right now because of their religious beliefs and so forth. So I thought that was kind of a nice fit to an ending that Cooper was going to bring out some positive nature, that that we're all humans, we're all in this together, let's try and figure this thing out. Let's live in peace together. So I can understand that and respect that. So going back to Hawkeye, he is the main character. He is a white man. He's kind of recluse. He doesn't really like the way the white people are living in America, how they're kind of steamrolling over the Indians and kind of making America their own instead of partnering with the Indians and respecting the fact that they were here first. So I can kind of see why this book is still popular, because it resonates on so many levels, for race relations, religious tolerance, things of that nature. You can certainly draw out of this book, that's positive. But it is a hard read. The story kind of meanders at times. I didn't quite understand what Cooper was doing with the story, but it is a story that has a lot of action in it. If you have the patience for reading Cooper and can kind of get through his language, his old school language, you could really like this book. It's worth reading for the fact that, for what I was saying, that you can draw out some really good conclusions from what he was attempting to say, regarding life in America and how, we need to be respectful of other people. He talks about real people that lived, real places, real events that happened. So in that respect, it is a historical novel. Again, it's a classic. I can see why it's a classic, but go in knowing that this will be a hard read. And God bless. I hope you enjoy this book.